classified as a well, inquiry was the reason why the people were brought to justice. The police themselves had failed. The inquiry, Justice classified, he himself came and said, yeah, ये forensics वालों को बुलाओ. उन्होंने जाके जो तस्वीर थी CCTV की, उसको enhance किया. नागा वालों ने उसके साथ match किया, and they found who the people were. But because of resources, the IG Gurustan could have done this himself. But it's, the problems in the system overall. Exactly. So anyway, we very interesting provision. If this would be of use, this would be good. Preventive detention against 30 days at a time. जो है ये preventive detention हो सकती है. CJ Supreme Court institutes a review board. हर 3 महीने अगर आप extend कर रहे हो जो maximum limit है 1 साल का हो जाएगा 2 year period. आपको every 3 months you require a review from the Supreme Court instituted board. Usually it's a number 2 judge जो ये files review करता है. ये intelligence files होती हैं इसमें और भी IBT as well as special branch ISI they have information. और इसमें जिस मैंने 24 month period में आप सिर्फ 12 के अंदर मैक्सिमम एक कर सकते हैं. Proscription ban of organizations, fourth schedule place severe restrictions on organizations and individuals. ये बड़ी interesting है. You would know this very well. Fourth schedule का अपना function है. You cannot do any public places. खासकर any public place which has minors है. So under the age of 18, under the age of 16, पे school में नहीं आ सकते, cinema नहीं जा सकते, bus stop, bus अड्डे तक so it becomes quite problematic. The only issue is how is this enforced? क्या आपके पीछे जो बना force है उसके पीछे पुलिस वाला हमेशा हो? That's not possible. So it's problematic in that. The UK looked at this. उन्होंने TPIM, temporary interim measures इसको कहते हैं. तो उन्होंने वो ankle bracelets डाला, another technological solution, but it's very expensive. और भी methods थे, for example वो curfew के लिए उनको पुलिस स्टेशन रिपोर्ट करना होता था during certain times of the day, या अपनी लोकेशन उन्हें SMS के थ्रू या जो GPS ट्रैकिंग होती है उसके थ्रू बतानी होती थी कि हम यहाँ पे रुके at any time पुलिस के पास. ये स्टैटिस्टिक्स है थोड़े से पुराने but these are interesting because ये अटॉर्नी जनरल ने सबमिट किए थे to the Supreme Court, and these are all the 80 anti-terrorism court cases. Total 17,000 cases से they decided 7,565 cases were decided since 1997. जो acquittal rate थी या conviction rate आने थे वो 23% average across Pakistan. In 2014, पंजाब में 27% conviction rate, Sindh में 28% conviction rate, बलूचिस्तान में 58%, पंजाब उसमें 85% थी बलूचिस्तान में, और उनके total 58 cases. So that's not really good. TP at that point had a 7.65 conviction rate, the lowest and significantly the hardest rate. Thankfully, पिछले साल Home Secretary मैं कोर्स कर रहा था उसमें Home Secretary gave a presentation. We have had the highest increase or improvement in conviction rates. So from 7% in 2014, 2016 we were at the national average around 24%, 25%. So that's good, but what is the reason for it? But that's the change. अब हम जल्दी से प्रोटेक्शन पाकिस्तान एक्ट की कुछ प्रोविजन देखे थे. ये सब मैंने सिलेक्ट प्रोविजंस दिए हैं. प्रियम्बल तो आपने ऑलरेडी पढ़ लिया है सुख साहब की प्रेजेंटेशन में. मकसद इसका कॉन्टेक्स्ट ये था कि नई गवर्नमेंट आई थी, उन्होंने कहा था कि हम कुछ करना चाह रहे हैं, we want to show that we are doing something. तो उन्होंने ये नहीं किया कि पुरानी लॉ को अमेंड करें. They said let's just make a new law. And जिन लोगों ने ये ड्राफ्ट के उस टीम के साथ उसके एक जो जूनियर था अकील शेख साहब जो है his team ड्राफ्ट उसका जूनियर के साथ एक ड्राफ्ट उससे कहा सुबह उसने मुझे ईमेल लिखा. सुबह उसको 7:30-8 बजे ईमेल आया था पहले ड्राफ्ट को, और रात उसने 9 बजे जाके सबमिट की थी इस ड्राफ्ट. तो डील विद टेररिज्म इन पाकिस्तान in one day they prepared the draft. बगैर किसी research के, बगैर किसी उसके. We have also prepared a draft, and it took us 2 years of research. हमने 300 पेज की रिपोर्टें बनाई है, जिसकी amendments को change किए. फिर हमने brand new Pakistan Counterterrorism Act we submitted to the government. But literally 1 week before we submitted to the government, Pakistan Protection Pakistan Ordinance passed it without telling them. और कोर्ट में भी they said जो this was drafted last night over drinks. ये उन्होंने कहा. Import, use to import. So anyway, this is what that law was. Exceptionally poorly drafted. There were some fundamental problems there. एक कभी डिस्कस कर रहे थे कि drafting में थी वो था कि one offense was crimes against computers. This was an offense. What is it, judges? Can anyone explain to me what is a crime against a computer? Cyber crime आप कहते हैं या आप कुछ और वो कर लें network infrastructure, but a crime against computer you need to language drafting के लिए. But anyway, Parliament watered down certain provisions, Protection of Pakistan Ordinance 2013, और Protection of Pakistan Act जो था वो 15 जुलाई को with a 2-year sunset clause because they knew that the provision was so harsh. ये पढ़ के दो बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग इनोवेशंस, एक मिलिटेंट की डेफिनेशन और एक एनिमी एलियन की डेफिनेशन. एनिमी एलियन हमने ऑलरेडी डिस्कस किया था सुनील साहब ने आर्टिकल सेक्शन 83 CPC का, जिसमें enemy alien is a citizen of a country you are at war with. An Indian citizen in Pakistan और पाकिस्तान में इंडिया की जंग हो जाए, वो citizen उसको enemy alien कहेंगे. ये traditional international definition है जो सब. So this was one definition. Now, बड़ा interesting है why they inserted this definition. And we go into this. अब militant की ये exact language नहीं है, but a militant की definition है one who wages war or insurrection against Pakistan, raises arms against it. Someone who advocates or encourages or aids or abets, threatens, commits or threatens to commit a scheduled offense, even if committed outside Pakistani territory, and under the direction or in concert conspiracy with or in furtherance of design of an enemy. This is militant definition. Enemy alien definition है means a militant, in that definition, and whose identity is unascertainable as a Pakistani. यानी उसके पास अगर आपकी कार्ड ना हो या उसकी आइडेंटिटी आप ascertain ना कर सके, we go now. Or who has been deprived of his citizenship, यानी वो पाकिस्तानी citizen बना process के through naturalization की process, और फिर उसकी पाकिस्तान citizenship act के तहत उसकी citizenship ले ली, then you can become an enemy alien. So the formula is militant plus unascertainable identity and militant plus deprived of naturalized citizenship. अब ये क्यों enemy alien की definition नहीं हुई to test me? Why did they decide to expand this definition of enemy? Agreed, but उसका एक legal consequence है. अगर आप enemy alien हो, उसका कुछ legal constitution के तहत legal consequence है. Does anybody know? Article 10 of the Constitution is arbitrary arrest and detention. Relates to that. उसमें protections हैं against you have to be produced in 24 hours before magistrate if you're arrested. Preventive detention जो है limit हो गया है, जिसमें मैंने mention किया है 2 साल में सिर्फ 1 साल तक 12 months तक. सब काफी protection है उसमें. The only category that does not get any of those protection is enemy alien. Therefore, an enemy alien can be detained without charge for the rest of his life. So if they could fit militants or Uzbeks or Afghans or anyone into that definition, the government could detain someone for the rest of his life without charge, without any. So this was one reason why this concept of enemy alien, because Constitution mentions enemy alien terms.
So मतलब उसकी identity ascertain हो जाए और वो militant
as a Pakistani. So only if he was a Pakistani or candidate or if he was a Afghani, but उसका fake शनाख्ती कार्ड बन गया हो, ना अगर वो उसमें पैसे दे दिया कुछ corruption करके, they could then take away his nationality and make him an enemy. So this was for foreigners. अभी बात भी ठीक थी Afghans के लिए. So it's very interesting why they brought this in. Another, probably my favorite provision, because it is so draconian, but very, very dangerous here. Burden of proof, section 15. An enemy alien or a militant facing the charge of a scheduled offense on existence of reasonable evidence against him guilty until proven innocent. And with fundamental criminal law cornerstone that you are innocent until proven guilty. Right? And this is your primary job as well as judges. यहाँ पे उन्होंने रिवर्स कर दिया. अब थोड़ी सी अगर हम डिटेल में जाए, ये जो burden of proof का उसके दो components हैं. Burden of proof has a legal या persuasive element to it और फिर evidential burden एक होता है. So legal burden हमेशा जो होता है prosecution को they have to prove. Now the legal burden is a burden to convince the trier of fact. You judges are the trier of fact and do. Right? So it is the prosecution's job to convince the trier of fact that this event happened the way he is saying. Defense की responsibility नहीं होती. उन्हें सिर्फ disprove एक दो evidence करने होते हैं, but any one element. That's what the defense's job is. So not only must I furnish sufficient evidence, I must show through that evidence that the defendant did in fact commit the crime. Beyond what is the standard? Beyond reasonable doubt. Beyond any shadow of a doubt. So I must convince to a very high standard beyond reasonable doubt. Thereby rebutting the presumption of innocence. So presumption of innocence is thereby rebutted when I presented this evidence and convinced the judge. The presumption of innocence places the legal burden upon the prosecution to prove all elements of the offence beyond reasonable doubt and to disprove all the defenses except for affirmative defense, self-defense, defense to prove them. So the legal burden generally of almost in all offenses remains on the prosecution. मगर हम देखते हैं narcotics cases में possession of narcotics में burden of proof shift हो जाता है. The person has to prove why he had possession of coke. ATA में भी possession of explosives जो है. The individual has to prove if they find explosives, why did you have these explosives? कोई license दिखाएं आप mining का या कोई और कोई pharmaceutical purposes के लिए medicine के लिए आप वो drugs transport कर रहे हैं. So burden of proof shift, but that is not the legal burden. That is just the evidential burden. तो वो अगर evidence, reasonable evidence जो standard है वो reasonable वो provide करते हैं तो evidential burden से shift हो जाता है. Then the prosecution again has to prove beyond all reasonable doubt कि वो use involved. यहाँ पे क्या होगा? Any alien on the existence of reasonable evidence, so evidential burden prosecution है, legal burden नहीं. We're clear now. They only have to show reasonable evidence, not beyond reasonable doubt. Reasonable evidence shall be presumed to be engaged in waging or war, shifting of the burden of proof, so that the defendant loses the presumption of innocence automatically, unless he establishes his non-involvement in the offence. So he has to establish legal burden of उसकी. So this becomes extremely dangerous in that sense. So this was one of the issues that we gave brought in. Any questions we gave?
बर्डन ऑफ प्रूफ जो है वो बस क्रिमिनल केसेस में यूज पे ही होता है. फूड एक्ट में भी यूज पे ही है. नैब का 14C देखें. If any person living beyond his ostensible means, he has to prove. तो ये तो है. में एक्सेप्शंस हैं. एक्सेप्शंस बहुत हैं इस तरह की, मैं और भी बता सकता हूँ. तो ये हम नहीं कह सकते कि ये बर्डन नेचुरल यूज पे है तो अगर उस पे चला गया तो इलीगलिटी हो गई. स्पेसिफिक सर्कमस्टांसेस को देखना होगा. अब मेरी आइडेंटिटी है, मैंने साबित करना है कि मैंने शनाख्ती कार्ड लिया है, मेरा डोमिसाइल है, मैं इस पर्टिकुलर रीजन का रेजिडेंट हूँ. एलियन के हवाले से डेफिनेटली बर्डन उस पर आएगा. उसको हम मेरे ख्याल में अगर ये कहें या क्रिटिसाइज करें, उसका हक है, उस पर बर्डन है कि वो साबित करे कि मैं वर्किंग सिटीजन हूँ, मैंने ID कार्ड भी प्रॉपर लिया है, मेरा एक बोर्ड यहाँ है, मेरा डोमिसाइल है.
नहीं एब्सोल्युटली. अगेन जैसे आपने मेंशन किया, बहुत से मुल्कों में इनफैक्ट ऑलमोस्ट एवरी कंट्री हैज लॉज वेयर द बर्डन शिफ्ट्स. बट जैसे भी मेरे जो मकसद था डिवाइडेड लीगल बर्डन और एविडेंशियल बर्डन was because it's the evidential burden that shifts, not the burden to convince the judge. वो हमेशा prosecution की रहता है. Narcotics cases में, food cases, NAP में भी, अब NAP में you have to prove your financial needs, how are you living this lifestyle here. तो आपने you सिर्फ have to give reasonable evidence. उस evidence से आपने convince नहीं करना judge को कि oh I am so standard जो है lower है, evidential burden को disprove करना है. But again, who the burden was standard in the high. A judge does not require to prove to him the all pure possibility. You had to do this.
इस किस्म की सिचुएशन में जो सुपीरियर कोर्ट्स ने रेकमेंड किया है वो ये है कि प्रोसिक्यूशन को प्राइमा फेशियल केस शो करना है और उसके बाद बर्डन शिफ्ट करना।
Absolutely.
ये वेरी कर रहा है
From act to act and more language पे भी depend करता है. Absolutely. Absolutely. चलिए जल्दी से इसको we're almost done इंशाल्लाह. EG were established in the Pakistan Army Act military courts through amendment in 2015 of it initially 2 years and then for further 2 years it will expire. अभी current military courts है 7 January 2019 will expire. Military courts are established procedure for court martial of the Pakistan Army Act. So ये बिल्कुल कुछ ज़्यादा का केस था. Field general court martial is one type of court martial. There is a district general court martial as well, जो established court martial है. Regular proceedings के किसी फौजी ने crime commit किया कुछ हो गया. Field general court martial उस वक्त होता है जब आप जंग की हालत में होते हैं and you don't have the ability to establish a proper. But for Pakistan, Pakistan Army has sought fit to institute this emergency type of field general court martial. इस किस्म का court martial. तो कुछ अलग की situation में भी field general court martial establish होता है. Military courts में कोई ये generally language है जो insert की गई है in the Pakistan Army Act. A member of a terrorist group organization using the name religion of sect. So religion of sect के अलावा आप किसी को नहीं submit कर सकते. तो one reason was कि Baloch insurgency थी उसके लिए वो कहते थे military courts should not be applied. They should only focus on terrorism, classic terrorism. अब इसमें obstacles जो थे सिर्फ मैं इस पे focus करना चाहता हूँ. Obstacles जो थे सबसे पहले Article 8.2 laws inconsistent with fundamental rights to be void. Article 175 separation of judiciary and executive. फौजी executive को आप जो judge बनाए वो है उसकी प्रॉब्लम. Sheikh Yaqub Hussain की केस में जैसे हमने पहले डिस्कस किया, armed forces are called in to act in aid of civil power. Aid यानी to support civil power. They cannot usurp the civilian function or the function of civilian institutions, including the courts, and therefore cannot try civilians in the military courts. तो कुछ तो पार्लियामेंट ने सॉल्व करनी थी, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वाले को, और कुछ सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने खुद सॉल्व करनी थी, क्योंकि उन्होंने शायद शेख याकूब हुसैन के केस में 20 साल पहले they gave a very clear judgment. These civilians cannot be tried by the military. So clear cut. अब कैसे उन्हें solution ढूंढना? Number one तो थोड़ा simple था, उन्हें Schedule 1 में डाल दिया. Schedule 1 में any offence that goes into Schedule, any law that goes into Schedule 1 is immune from the application of Article 8(1) and 2. Separation of judiciary provides for Article 175 has been inserted in the Constitution by way of the 21st Amendment, which does away with this problem. Finally, 21st Amendment case में फिर उन्होंने ये मसला Supreme Court stated in plurality opinion that military courts were established in response to a threat of war. मैंने आपको याद है I mentioned कि Article 245 के तहत 3 instances हैं जहाँ पर deploy कर सकते हैं. External aggression, threat of war, and aid of civil power. उन्होंने in aid of civil power में कहा कि civilians cannot be tried. Now they are saying these military courts were not established in aid of civil power, but as a response to a threat of war. So उन्होंने legal category change कर दी Supreme Court. This is their fundamental reasoning. So it is a response to a threat of war, and the armed forces are not merely acting in aid of civil power. Therefore, the limitations imposed by the aforementioned cases do not apply. So ये बड़ी interesting की reasoning. Finally, ये action in aid of civil power. हमने mentioned कि फौज की every deployment of the armed forces is subject to Article 247. Article 247 में ये भी लिखा है कि Article 199 में apply होता है जहाँ फौज deploy होती है. But हम कराची में देखते civil armed forces और वो ऐसी देखते हैं हिंदुस्तान में वहाँ पे तो 199 still apply. सिर्फ फाटा में है जहाँ पे दे रखा है. So there is a distinction that the courts have made. They have said कि if under a law other than the Constitution आपने deploy किया, ATA के तहत आपने के तहत आपने deploy किया फौज को, उसमें because you are going through a law and the law is within the human rights framework, उसमें Article 199 will still continue to apply. I know it's a little confusing, but this is the reason. डायरेक्टली भी आर्टिकल 245 इन्वोक कर सकते हैं, डायरेक्ट नोटिफिकेशन, और वो फटा में दैट्स व्हाट्स हैपेंड, डायरेक्ट नोटिफिकेशन. But in any case, suspension of enforcement mechanism for fundamental rights is directly invoked there. Applicable threshold high levels of violence in such a large scale operations. Article 245 directly invoked by the federally and federally administered areas, BARDA, and it's a specific law for that. मैं एक इंटरेस्टिंग चीज आपको बता रहा हूँ. ये इमरान खान ने धरने जब किए थे इस्लामाबाद में, सोचो कि साहब डिसाइडेड कि हम 245 डायरेक्टली इन्वोक करते हैं इस्लामाबाद टू डिप्लॉय द अतर मिनल्ला साहब हाई कोर्ट में जस्टिस साहब ही सेड कि मैं तो नॉट गोइंग टू टेक एनी मोर केसेस, तो 199 से नहीं हो गया, आर्टिकल 245 नीचे. देन द अटॉर्नी जनरल केम इन और उन्होंने पूरा एक्सप्लेन किया कि नहीं, असल में हमारा जो मकसद है वो ये कि सिर्फ वो 199 रिलेटेड रेट्स जो फौज के साथ रिलेटेड है वो आप ना एंटरटेन करें, बाकी आप एंटरटेन कर सकते हैं. So this was the government position, and that's when they started taking those cases after that. But it was a very interesting dynamic that was taking place there. अच्छा, मैंने आपको mention किया कि Action Against Civil Power Regulations Conflict IHL की language project. ये direct IHL की language. कि precaution before using force. कौन सा की slide में ये जगह पे वो तस्वीरें निकाल रही थी, precautions से निकाल रहा. The armed forces will undertake where possible the following minimum preventive measures and precautions during the actions in areas of the law, namely, warn the civilians to vacate the area, take special measures in respect of the life and safety of children, women, and the elderly person, and take feasible precautions in the choice of means and methods of attack with a view to avoiding and minimizing collateral loss. Choice of means is the weapons, methods is the tactics used. So, you can't say कि चलिए गांव है उसके अंदर हमें पता है कि दहशतगर्द है, तो आप पूरे गांव पे मोबाइल करें, ठीक है. आर्टिलरी अगर आप मारेंगे तो पूरा गांव हो जाएगा, या कोई ऐसा बॉम्ब हो आपके पास जो आप यूज करें, then the whole you have to then use specific weapons. So the choice of weapon is important. In addition to that, the tactics, for example, कुछ militaries होती हैं वो जाके कहती हैं कि we will take no prisoners. जो बंदा हमें मिला उसको मारेंगे. Force me up this area. This you can't do. Under the international humanitarian law, if you surrender, they have to take you as a prisoner. And they can try you, they can punish you, prosecution, but then